y'all? It's your boy Herb.
And it's your girl Mo.
And welcome to our soon-to-be world-renowned podcast, Young, Black, and Figuring It Out. Season
3.
You feel me? Not 1, not 2,
but 3.
but 3. You know, man, I'm feeling good.
All over my... Yeah,
Yeah,
me
I'm
too. I'm just ready
good.
to dance. I'm in that kind of mood today.
Oh,
Don't ask me why.
Happy feet. Okay, bad.
Someone calls me that too.
Yeah, we must still be stepping in the name of love. But go ahead.
Are you done?
I'm finished.
Are you back?
Don't worry about it. I'm back. It's okay.
I can't.
I'm glad to be here.
Yay.
Yeah,
I'm glad to see you here. Yes.
Yeah, I would say our podcast is like fine wine. You hear me?
I like that.
Yeah. Because you know what?
It gets better with age.
It's getting better with time. You can rhyme right there. But yeah, I know what you meant.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to rhyme though, but you're right. You got it.
They're like, oh, they do stuff on the podcast.
No,
Yeah, we having too much fun.
I'm glad y'all didn't see us right before the video.
Yeah, we was lean with it, rocking with it.
It was great. Good times.
Yeah. Man, we should bring back at some point in time, we should do a podcast about 2000s R&B and hip hop.
You mean the best time for music?
Man, that was like, yes.
Yeah.
The clothes were bad though.
They were terrible. And I dressed just like it. And I'm proud of every
Are
outfit.
you? I'm not proud. I'm not gonna lie. When I look back,
I was cute back then.
You had the baby fat coat. Oh Lord, how'd I know? How'd I know?
I had the velour suit.
The
suit.
velour.
Yeah, I was looking good. With the ponytail.
Oh
Yeah,
Lord,
I was cute.
yeah.
I don't care what
Not the
nobody
Sister
say.
Soldier. Now look, I had. You ever wore Fat Albert? You ever heard of that?
The
Pelly
character?
Pale.
Oh,
yeah.
in the store?
The clothes.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Yeah, I had all that. Pelly Pale. What else? Pelly. What else we had? All the stuff, yes.
Right, Rockaware came out.
Rockaware. I never really wore Rockaware though, but
I think I had one item. I don't even remember what it was, but yeah. It was big. It was big. The purses, everything. I was with it.
Evizel jeans. Oh my gosh, Detroit gonna know that. Evisels, True Religions was a thing. What else were you trying to wear? Yeah, it was a lot. Levi's was big too. All that to say, those were some great times. The clothes were bad though because it was all 9X. Like right now, the clothes that I wore in 7th grade, I can't fit today. Like literally.
Y'all drowned in your clothes. It was the look.
Yo, drown in the clothes. It's like, yo, there was no people. It's like, yo, where's the person? It just be jeans and a shirt. You couldn't see a person in the clothes. It was too much. No joke. Yes. It was crazy, yo.
I would go back in those times any day. It was like pure joy. I had so much fun back then.
For real?
Yeah,
me too. It was just like, it's like, what's going on? Like, that's when it was like less. You were just free.
Yeah.
Problems you thought were problems. I'll take those problems right now.
Any day. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. That's what's up, man. What you figure out
this week?
Yeah,
it's a great question.
Kanye West and remember early Kanye? My bad. As we always do with this, what was that, graduation? College dropout?
College dropout.
Yo, that's tough.
When I preferred him when his mouth was wired shut. You know what I mean? That sounds so bad, didn't it? Oh, dang. Now you're ready to...
You better get canceled.
He's trying to get me back for the last episode.
No, you out of control.
I'm out of pocket.
Whoa.
I'm out of pocket.
Go ahead. I wasn't bad.
That's
I just
crazy.
called him Pill Cosby. But listen, because it's the truth. Brother was pilling people.
I'll let the audience tell me which was worse. Y'all vote.
Oh, no.
I think.
We don't want this to catch fire. We don't want to do no voting. And the next thing you know, we are canceled.
Oh, man.
We will handle it the right way, and then we won't be canceled.
Ooh, right. Take accountability. That's all we need to do.
Let's go.
What did I think? I don't know what I figured out. Me
neither.
I should have thought about this.
Let me go first.
Sorry. You got this?
I got you. I heard you now.
Oh, man.
Ooh, all right. So what I figured out this week, man, you know what though? The idea of letting go. What I mean by that is like we hold so tight to so many different things, and it's like the reality is those things won't necessarily matter, right? So we really do hold like our how we're supposed to look, like how we present, like these identities. We hold like expectations. We hold like the past. Like we hold tight to these things, and it's like what they say, like if you're holding tight, like at this grip, you can't open your hand to receive anything well, So it's like the letting go piece is huge for sure. So yeah, it's a lot of things that it's in order for me to hold on, I'm using energy doing that. Like, you're the one holding on. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's actually draining your energy to hold on longer to certain things. And so, yeah, just the idea of like letting certain stuff go,
Yeah.
like from the past and whatnot. And that doesn't mean you know, like you still remember that and take the lesson, but you shouldn't let like the history or like your attachment to this identity or whatever it might be like hold you down or hold you back. Right? You want to learn, but you don't want to be held to things. You know, so letting go for sure.
That's fair, and that's not easy. But you're right. That is when you are able to start doing that. It's a blessing. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not easy, right? Because it takes a lot. And I think once you do it though, or start working at it, and it becomes a habit, it's like it's good. You can really navigate life in just a way of peace. You can still have intensity, and that's something I had to learn too. I talked about this in the other episode, like me confusing that you had in order to be at peace, you couldn't have intensity. You know, it's like, oh no, you can be intense but still have peace, like still have silence. And so, but yeah, once you actually let go, like yeah, you can be at peace and move through things. And it's kind of like this bubble around you that protects you from a lot of the stuff that folks get hit by. It's like a bulletproof vest, you know? It's like, yeah, this is good.
Yeah. I guess it stops you from taking things as personally a lot of times too.
Yeah, because we honestly like adhesive in our life. Like you walk through and something hits you and it sticks to you. It doesn't leave. Like this person said this. Oh, this happened to me 5 years ago. Oh, this thing that's like, oh, remember when I said this and I look bad, and you carry that and that weighs you down. And by the time you get done, you got all the stuff on you that don't matter. It's like, nah, that's roll right off you. Like
that was
water.
great. That was great. Yes, well done. That was perfection. Like adhesive. Ooh. I like that.
Good looking.
Yeah. Adhesive isn't very visible either. Like you don't always know it's about to stick. That's probably why I like it. It's not like glue. You know what I mean? Like, nah. You don't even see it. You carrying that on your back.
Add to that metaphor. You are tough.
Thanks.
She's up, y'all.
Okay, I did figure this out. Didn't realize I figured it out. I have dealt with this all my life where I have struggled to accept this, but the power of feeling valued or being valued is probably one of the most important things I've learned recently.
Talk to me.
So like I have told him this before, but I will tell you all. I had struggled for many years to feel loved or seen or heard, especially like feeling heard was very important to me. And if anyone knows me well, they know that I'll sometimes kind of be in a crowd of people and very quiet. And I'm really observing and listening. But part of it is also the belief that what I have to say won't really matter to anyone, right? And we've been doing a lot of work, and it's been like a big healing journey going on for my own life. And I've noticed how feeling valued, but it not even being a feeling as much as it's actually occurring, has helped me. It's like I appreciate it, and it's likely that it's been there for a while, but I had never seen it. I've never accepted it or recognized that this is what's occurring. Yeah, and it has meant so much. It's empowering. I also feel like it motivates me to help people even more. Yes. You know what I mean? Like with even greater intention and focus. And I am thankful. Like I have no words for how thankful that like I am like for, all of what's out there. Thank you so much.
That's dope. And I like what you said, the distinction. I actually want to ask you more about that. So you said not so much the feeling, but it's actually happening. Break that down a little bit. That was heat right there.
Because feelings are so like moment by moment. They're so fleeting. It's like you could feel one way at this exact time, and 2 days later you don't feel that way. And if you base everything off feelings, it dissipates, and you can go into like roller coaster kind of movements or feelings. But I recognize that although I feel valued, it's actually what's happening. Like I am being affirmed in a continual and true way. You know what I mean? Like some people are reaching out to me just to bounce ideas off, which I love collaboration. Like I have a collaborative problem. I enjoy it too much. I sometimes give out information just to help when no one asks, because I can't help but want that. So when it's like reciprocated, it's like, oh my gosh, I appreciate that. And it feels good. But even more than that, it's like, oh, this is how it should be. This should be the standard for me. Like I should just recognize that what I have to say and me just being there is important. Like it matters for others also as much as it should matter for me. And so trying not to just moving all feelings, because he knows I am a feeler. I think through feelings. Like, feelings is my lens usually.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? That's not as important as what is actually happening. So.
Yeah, I feel that. And you know, I feel that. And you know, it's like, I think it's both. I think it can't, I want to use the T word. Trump.
You know what?
But it can't.
I don't feel like tired. What's
we had to bleep that out.
I can't.
But we don't. It shouldn't like overpower what's actually happening. But I think it's just as important though, because you were saying it's not as important as what's actually happening. But I think it's both. But it's like the seeing both sides. But back to the original point, like that makes so much sense.
And I'll make the distinction of, it's not that it shouldn't be equal, but for me, knowing how much of a feel I am, and how problematic that has been in my past,
right.
That is why I said that, like specifically.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah,
it's like it's a win because like it allows you to do what you do so well, but it's also like there's the shadow side of that, which is like, is this actually happening?
Right.
Or am I just thinking it's happening because of my feelings? I'm with you.
Got caught up in too many feelings, and it just I'm saying it went off, but really it went left. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, what happened? But I got you. Okay, that's dope.
Thank you.
Yeah, yo, speaking of feelings, I'm feeling some type of way about this topic. Because let me tell you. Because I'm going to tell you. You know? As we prepare for this interesting weekend, we just want to say, for Indigenous Peoples Day, that we're here because the only Christopher we acknowledge is Wallace. The only Christopher we acknowledge is Wallace. Literally. We are canceling Columbus.
Right.
For sure. And that's the name of this episode, Canceling Columbus. The only Christopher we acknowledge is Wallace. Yeah, so folks who don't know Christopher Wallace, let's go back to real quick. Biggie, B.I.G., one of,
love it when they call me Big Papa.
Yeah, throw your hands in the air. So, by many folks seen as one of the best, if not the best, rappers, artists of all time, very influential, so many records, millions, all that, right?
Yeah.
We acknowledge that, Christopher, but this other one, we not acknowledging that. So we're going to take the time right now to tell you why and go through the history. So before we dive into our opinions about this, let's talk about, before we dive into the actual history, should we talk about the narrative that we learned growing up or that was implied to us?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. Like what do we feel? Like what do we know? What do we hear?
Oh, I can recall I was taught this because I had projects, like every October second Monday or
something like that.
Something like that would come around. They would always be like, it's Christopher Columbus Day coming. And it's big and exciting, especially in elementary school. They made it a big deal.
Yeah.
And you had to do like a project, and they taught you, all about the Nina, the Pinta, the Santa Maria. Like you just learned all these things about people finding, this country, founding this country, and then finding people here and everything. And, us, this is our land because we clearly found it. Yeah. And I was like, our land? Like, anyway,
you funny. But go ahead. It's a fact, though.
As children, you learn all that, and then it's like he's this big hero.
Yeah,
he was such a big deal, and I do remember having like this biography I had to do, and like had to draw. My mom helped me, like, and I was proud of it. And I'm like, I know my history. You're a little kid, and it's like, I get it. Yeah, that's what I knew.
Yeah, same thing for me. It's like when we knew point blank period years ago. Before I was enlightened, people asked me about Christopher Columbus. Like, what you mean, bro, who discovered America? That's really what it was. That is what bro who discovered America, right? He came through on a boat, found the land, found America. Like, oh, dang, okay, bro was the start of America as we know it, the New World, right? It's what we knew about Christopher Columbus.
Named the people because he knows better, clearly.
And bro, he was celebrated like in that way. It's like, Christopher Columbus found America. And that really was how we were taught. And it just was like this thing where you just knew it. I remember in high school one time we had this joke, or it was a joke that now I can remember back because we were talking about this subject where I was doing something. I like found my way somewhere. Like we was lost. I found my way somewhere. Like, dang, bro, Christopher Columbus in this joke. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, Columbus did. And yo, legit. Like, I'm Columbus out here. Oh, actually, no, that was early college. That might be my freshman year. Yeah, that was Dom. Dom was like,
Shout out to Dom.
yeah, shout out to my man Dom. Like, oh, bro, Columbus did out here? You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, found my way.
Oh my God.
Yeah, like, oh, you discovered it. You knew where you were going. So, yes, discovery, obviously great with directions because he knew where he was going, was what we learned. And to be celebrated.
Yeah.
Funny, none of that is true.
At all.
Yeah, so we're going to get him the real history?
Yeah. Because, I mean, I ain't going to lie. I got a little older and I would say something and my dad be like, discover what? I used to be like, what you mean, Pops? He's like,
Yo.
You telling me there were already people here? How he discover it?
Yo.
I was like, huh.
Let me tell you though. So, funny enough, I went to the DR, Dominican Republic, this past summer. Yeah, I was out there. My second home. I'll be back. Just telling the DR I'll be back. So when we got this tour, and we went off the resort we was at. I was on the resort. We went off this resort we was at. Pulled up to like this shop. They, like a whole bunch of, it's like a convenience store, cigars, all this stuff. Because that's actually one of the things that the Dominicans are known for, like cigar manufacturing, blah, blah, blah. Get there. They walking us through the history of how cigars became to be made in the DR and how everything happened. And in his tour, I love these type of things. It's a history tour. Like, I'm a history person.
Yes.
So in his tour, he like, yada, yada. And then when Christopher Columbus discovered the Americas and it just kept going, and it like hit me. I'm like, oh, this concept is pervasive. I'm in another country. Like, it's pervasive. Like, that has made it. And I wanted to pause and be like, whoa.
Let's rewind it back.
But I'm like, nah, this not me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm here on vacation. I'm not about to be
Tell
educated.
the tour guide.
Yeah, let me not tell the tour guide, listen, your tour is not guiding in the right way. I'm going to let you rock. But literally, it's pervasive. So let me tell you this true history. So let's go into what actually happened.
Please, enlighten us all.
The explorer, Christopher Columbus, made 4 trips across the Atlantic Ocean from Spain, 1492, 1493, 1502. Now, by the way, those dates are well before we think about America. So I just want to give you some foresight for what's coming, right? Like North America. He was determined to find a water route west from Europe to Asia, right? But he never did. Instead, he stumbled upon the Americas. So brother pulled up into the Americas, but he thought it was actually India. India's in Asia, for folks who didn't know that. And that's not even trying to be funny. It took me a minute to catch on to that years later. Geography was
They
not
also
my
did
thing.
not teach it that way. So
Yeah, you feel me? It's like,
there's a lot of things history was
The
taught
finesse.
just
It's like,
incorrectly.
It's like, oh, India. Hey, when you say Asian, that can mean a lot of stuff. Anyway.
Right. Same thing with Egypt. No one teaches you this in Africa.
Yes. Anyway, so his journeys kind of marked kicked off centuries of exploration throughout that time and led to things like the transatlantic slave trade and all that, so on and so forth, right? Columbus actually landed in what we now call the Caribbean. He landed in the DR in what we now call Haiti, right? Arrived there after 4 trips of trying to make it to Asia, kept going back. But not only did he go there, he really started this idea of colonization and slavery in that way, because where he landed into the DR, one of the things that they did was enslave the indigenous peoples there, right? Who were, in that setting, welcoming, trusting, all the things. Here's an excerpt from Christopher Columbus' journal about the indigenous folks he found in the Caribbean. Here's the quote. They, meaning the indigenous people, brought us parrots and balls of cotton and spears and many other things, which they exchanged for the glass beads and hawkbells that we had. They willingly traded everything they owned for those items. They were well built with good bodies and handsome features. They do not bear arms and do not know them. For I showed them a sword, they took it by the edge of the sword and cut themselves out of ignorance. They have no iron, they have no steel. They would make fine servants. With 50 men, we could subjugate them all and make them do whatever we want. Unquote. Wow.
I mean, it speaks so much to the type of people each were.
Exactly.
Like kind, loving, peaceful, welcoming. Why would we have arms to bear?
You're right.
Why would that even be a thing? We're here peacefully living our best lives.
Mm-hmm. They also, didn't have some of the materials to make some of those arms, which in such case was amazing for the type of slaughter that was soon ensued later down the road. But yes, so here's the other thing that I recently learned. Christopher Columbus never made it to North America. Wow.
You want to say you're shocked, but when the man thought he was in India, it's just like the bar was low.
So the brother didn't even make it to North America. I mean, the way we celebrate that here, I thought, honestly, we say, oh, he discovered America. He pulled up. Like, he landed in Philly, rang the bell, and just walked around.
I've always envisioned he was walking through Wisconsin.
Yeah.
He was just kind of like...
Wisconsin. That seemed like somewhere here.
Somewhere out there. He was out there, right?
So, yeah, he probably discovered Wisconsin. I ain't gonna lie to you. But let me start playing people from Wisconsin listening right now. But nah, but legit though. The way I discovered it, like, bro pulled up to the colonies. He was wearing a white wig and yelling the British were coming. Bro was in America. He never made it.
Oh, man.
So not only did he not discover it, he was bad at directions. He didn't know where he was landing. Wow. And it's not to be celebrated based on the type of person he was.
I'm surely confused why who wrote these history books and said, yes, this is our king.
Yes.
What?
So let's go to this next part. Like, why is this a holiday? Let's unpack that. Like, what do we think? Like, why do we think we celebrate this right now as a holiday? Or did folks celebrate this as a holiday?
Truly, I'm starting to think, just based off of how history has been played, it's like revisionist history. It only makes sense. You know what I mean? It's like, we have to hide the atrocities for what we did to get this land. So we're just going to build this man up, this idiot. This is fool. No, who would know? No one's the wiser. Yeah. This is our now national hero. Yeah.
And with that too, I think it's like you said, the people who control the pen rewrite the story, they usually whitewash it out. So I think this is another form of having white folks be the supreme beings. Like, yes.
Right.
So we're going to take this story, and think about it. Brother was never in North America.
Right.
So we're going to take this story of discovery and enslavement and use this person who is white, right, to elevate whiteness. To me, yes, we discovered, we started, we are to be celebrated, and we were the first folks to really circumnavigate the globe.
Right.
And these were white folks. And I think that push was a lot of why people wanted to celebrate it as a holiday. Like, let's make this systemic.
Yes.
Because until we knew better, we thought, white folks discovered America.
Which is perfect if you are trying to mold young minds and raise them to believe a certain thing, right? You just tell them what you need them to believe, and that way people fall in line. So like, if he met all these beautiful black bodies, because that's exactly what he said, right? Like, we know Haiti and DR, dark-skinned humans, right? With beautiful features and hearts of love and gold is what I heard, right? Just saying. If you are looking to make them into servants, you have to now teach them or make them believe that they're less than somehow, right? Because as far as they know, they are just people living their best lives. But if you need them to follow suit, you have to start writing and like pushing this narrative so everyone to treat them a certain kind of way. It's like, it makes sense. It's diabolical.
Yeah, and it's like, it's strategic, right? So and that's the crazy part. Is like, what they did, ingenious. Yeah. Right? Heartless. Evil and genius, because it's like you start to change the context and narrative of what people know, because what you hear oftentimes is what you believe, right? And so now they weren't just thinking about the moment, right? The folks who considered this were thinking about the future. If we rewrite history in a certain way and then can like perpetuate that throughout time, folks will believe this. And what happens is when you hear things like your people were enslaved, like the start of our history, most of the time, were like enslavement for us folks in Haiti, DR, right?
Isn't that crazy?
The folks who discovered this land that we hold great were white. Jesus in all the paintings is white. What you start to do is say, wow, what do I elevate subconsciously? Whiteness.
Yes.
What do I then look at and say it's less than black and brown? And so like that really was again pervasive in that way. And that to think about the level of strategy around doing that in order to again subjugate a group of people was crazy. And so that's just one example. It's like, let's make it a holiday. Let's infuse that.
Yes.
You know?
Teach it through the schools.
Yes, it's in the history books. Wow.
Which is so frustrating when you see people today trying not to do that. Like, we don't want to repeat false history.
Right.
We would like to teach the kids the truth.
Yeah.
And the fact that people want to push back on that, because it's like, this is what we're accustomed to. Yeah. It's not real.
Nah, let's make this race theory critical. Because like we need to do this.
It's like, why do you want to live in this falsehood for the rest of your life? Like, ignorance is not bliss in this sense.
Yes, the theory of race is critical. We need to do that. Yes, I'm with you on that. We got to tell the truth because these are the facts. And then again, they took advantage of that, right? This is great documentary by Jared Diamond called Guns, Germs, and Steel. Old documentary. When you watch it, and it's well done. It's about white folks. The narrator is a white man. He traveled around the globe, and what he found was what actually led to, again, he put up folks didn't have iron or arms. Like, what led to that difference? Was it, or are folks more intelligent, so they came to this thing before? What is it? The reality was most of this was based on where folks were and how the seasons worked and the access to certain resources, which allowed for technology. In that time, technology was steel and iron to advance faster. It had nothing to do with anything about intelligence, just access to resources. Right. And so they had access to being able to write and record in a different way and have history be
documented in that way.
Documented over time. A lot of black and brown cultures, folk cultures, right? Oral cultures.
Yes.
History is oral. Something wrong with that,
Very
but it's
much.
not written. But the way we forced people to learn based on, again, kind of the colonization was through written history. And so a lot of those things were wiped out. They were wiped out for folks. So our greatness wiped out.
Right. I mean, because they also forced them not to speak in their native tongue.
Yeah.
So those languages were lost a lot of times too. And so that's why you find the most creative things that people hold on to, especially in black cultures, like hair braiding and the stories those would tell, like just different things that they tried to keep that couldn't necessarily be copied, you know what I mean? Or completely knocked out.
Yeah.
If you wanted their hair tamed, they had to braid it. Certain thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So crazy. And so I guess what's wrong with celebrating that day is like, because I think in a way, there should be a version of Columbus Day. Let me explain.
I'm like, he gonna need to explain for this one.
Let me tell you why. Columbus Day needs to be called something else. It might be called canceling Columbus Day, right? But the reason why we need to keep that is that we need to remember the truth. Columbus Day should not be in a fallacy. Canceling Columbus Day should be all about learning the truth of what European settlers and what we now call Americans have done to people in order to get to where we are. We need to really dive in. There should be a day to look at that, recognize, and own that. America in particular, most places do, which is why when Queen Elizabeth passed, so many people were up in arms, like, nah, I don't care.
Right.
Because they're like, yo, that was built off of slave labor, right?
Yeah.
But America and places like that have a tradition of hiding truth and whitewashing it and then turning it into something else.
Unfortunately.
Thanksgiving ain't what it sound like. Columbus Day ain't what it sound like.
Yeah.
And so we need to, like, instead of getting rid of that, let's focus on the truth of it. Now, it shouldn't be a holiday.
Right.
But there needs to be some version, right, of when we sit down and learn the truth. And we need to, in an intentional way, because no one should ever be able to run from that again.
Right. Which I hear that, because when like everything was happening with the racial reckoning and people were getting rid of certain like statues or changing school names based off of who they were or represented. Yeah. Wiping it away doesn't cover up what occurred. So like you're right in a sense of you can make those changes as you should, but it needs to be taught what happened, how they presented it all these years, and now what we're doing to rectify it.
Yes.
Because there's no healing without that. Yeah. Nothing changes without that. You just got a group of people angry and pretending. Come on. And the other group trying to say, but we just want justice. It's just the same foolishness. You know what I mean?
Listen, you can't heal what you never reveal. You gotta reveal it. Yes. Jay. So like, yeah, so we have to. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's my thought. Not that we should be having a Columbus Day in that way, but we need to have a day about intentional truth, you know? Intentional truth. And so here's the thing that people often say that I want to dive into for us, which is a good discussion. You see how excited I am?
I'm like, what's coming? I had to brace myself.
Yo, somebody had said this to me once about slavery. But it also I heard this about Columbus Day. If we look at America right now, for all the horrible America has done and continues to do, America is one of the most prosperous lands anywhere. America is one of the places where things like civil liberties and like the ideas of democracy actually exist, not exist the same for everyone, which is the argument, but actually exist so much more so than other places where they really are monarchies and dictatorships and all those things, right? Where folks really don't have options. They just tell us we got options and then it's not true, which is, which one's worse, right? But so true. And America has done good. People are going to be ready to throw tomatoes at me, some people, but it's like, yeah, it has. I can't lie to you. Now, does the end justify the means?
Are we at an end?
Does right now, that's a good question. That was actually philosophical. Let's come back to that.
I was like, I don't know if it justifies because have we ended yet? You know what I mean? Like, will it get better? That's the question. But I hear you. Okay,
or does our current, we can come back to that. That might be a different episode. Like, what does the end look like? But we'll take it. Just where we are right now, justify what happened to get there. When it comes to Columbus and all the things that happened to the indigenous Americans and,
I mean, that's a loaded question.
It's heat, right? Like, that's a hard question.
Because I don't think it justifies any. I am not ever going to sit down and say, y'all were right to, kill and massacre just a whole culture of population of people and then enslave, and then pretend that they don't matter and then use them as thoroughly as you can. Without that, I wouldn't be here. No. Under no circumstances will I say that's justified.
I'm done.
However, we do know that consequences always occur. Like, one thing has a reaction that leads to another thing and leads to another thing. And I'm not saying that our people wouldn't be as strong as they are now. I think our strength would have just looked different. I'm saying in the most sensitive way I can that based off of everything that had happened and despite it all, there have been high points and there has been movement from terrible to like slowly getting better.
Right.
But I don't no, it don't justify nothing.
I'm with you. Yeah, for sure. I agree. It's like, nah. If you had to get here on the back of enslaving folks, because they had options. When you pulled up there, honestly, when you pulled up and those people welcomed you, you had options, bro. You really, like, the world could be different. And this goes back to, like, human nature. Like, why are we like this? You put up, why not? Yeah, trade, commerce, like, yes, the currency, like, they got things you don't have, vice versa. Like, all the things that you had. Like, he wrote about dolphins in his writings and things that he blown people away. Yeah. That's what's up. We don't have to destroy to elevate.
Right.
Why?
Right.
We've made it that way. In the world context right now, the global context, you do have to destroy to elevate. It did not have to be like that. And so, the end does not justify the means because we don't know if there could have been different means in order to get where we are. Like, it could have been better.
Right, which this is just sparking so many history questions now because I'm not as much of a history buff as you. Right. But I'm like, where were they coming from? So like we know that they kept finding people here living, just making water. Like it's just like finding roots to make water, go into the grass to build harvest, to just eat and live their lives, right? But I'm like, what was going on in these parts of Europe? Were they fighting each other? Were there a lot of like religious wars happening? And
in
like
the 1400s?
Right, and their mindset was just like, kill and take power? Like, was that just how they were already operating?
Yeah. So people were getting paid during that time. Was the time of exploration, discovering new. Like that was you got different eras. During that time, it was a time of exploration. So there were many folks who were, because Columbus is credited with whatever, but folks have went before and after and have been there, right? But they had already been funding these type of explorations because folks didn't know much about the Earth. The Earth was still flat. They thought you could, which some people still think that. It's okay. Hey, listen, each his own. But it's like, but hey, so yeah, during that time, that was what was going on. I don't remember the internal strife. I can't remember like the years of like the French Revolution and all that. But I do know, yeah, that was being sanctioned. Like even so much, I think Columbus was being paid by the Queen at the time. So yeah, yes.
I was trying not to make it personal because, you just feel a type of way hearing this stuff all the time. And I'm like, you know what?
What was the context?
Let me try to look at it from a different perspective.
Yeah.
And maybe it wasn't, it clearly was a lack of respect. But maybe, it wasn't even like about whoever it was going to be. The fact is I was going to do this to whoever was here. You know what I mean? So I'm like, were there anyone that they did learn from? The place that they did go to and never had a thought of, I'm going to hurt you, I'm going to take from you. Or like, I'll learn from you. Let's work together. You know what I mean? Like, why is that? No. Why was that not even possible?
No.
I'm like, if that was how they were already surviving, I get it.
Yeah,
I don't like it.
The context, that goes to a deeper question. Like, does context excuse behavior? You know what I'm saying? Which is like, for me, it's like, nah, bro, I can't excuse it because like right now, I can't give you a pass. If you do, then people right now are gonna feel as though they can, forget. It's like, no, the context does not excuse behavior because decisions were still made.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, you can't tell me. I don't care about the context. You can't tell me that someone didn't think. Actually, here's a story from Columbus. Columbus sent 50 slaves to the Queen at that time to like a show of like a good gesture. She was horrified and actually made them Spanish citizens. And she's like, oh no, we not. That didn't last long, obviously. But
I'm about to say, is that how the Moors got there? Or were they already there?
No, we can do something. No, I'm not about to enslave folks, right? So there are people who were like, nah, this ain't right.
Right, could have stopped it.
So and there's some people who was just like, the thought around not caring and enslaving people to meet folks' own needs just overpowered the idea of no, this isn't morally right. So it's like, no, context does not excuse because people. It wasn't like no one thought this was wrong. Nah, people just chose to do wrong.
Right,
which is like nah.
I was not trying to excuse it.
Oh no, I'm not talking about you.
I know you ain't, but to be clear. Just in case.
We ain't trying to get canceled.
I was not trying to excuse it. I was trying to explain it.
And understand it.
Yeah. I was like,
I get that.
I need to see it from all sides and levels. It does not dissipate my anger.
But it's still like, let me understand because yes, it's easy to do certain things in the context.
And that's perfect modeling for those who don't want to learn the true history. We can do this. You feel me? Like, you don't have to like it, but you should know it.
I'm gonna understand it. Yeah, for sure. Nah, so yes. Yes. Oh, and they probably sitting here listening right now like, hey, what in the world are they talking about? I'm just going to tell you right now, you might be right.
We might be wrong.
But at the end of the day, we just young, black, and figured it out.